Welcome to For All the Meeples. And I mean that. This channel is for anybody at any level of board gaming. All Meeples are welcome. My name is Ian, and I love board games. Where better to talk about board games than on your own channel, but there's another reason I started this channel, and that is that I've lived with depression for on and off for 40 years, and the last 10 have been quite difficult. I fell into board gaming about 4 months ago and found that it really helped my depression. So I wanted to show how the hobby can help with depression and anxiety. Now, granted, there's going to be some games that will have a counter effect and may trigger those conditions, but we'll find that out as we go along. I'm not going to mention this for every game. I'm just going to mention it for the games that it really affects. So let's start at the beginning. How to get started in this great hobby. Now, this is important. Please do not leave if you're a veteran. If you've been around board gaming for a long time, we want to hear from you. So please, let me hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if I miss anything, how you got started into board games. What games got you started? Did you do it solo at first and then move on to groups? Did you have friends who were already into gaming and got you involved? Did you start a group of your own? But most important, as I mentioned, if I miss anything, please mention it in the comments, because if you can add anything that'll help somebody get into this great hobby, that would be awesome. Okay, so for me, the first thing that I did was research gaming on YouTube. I started finding, your top 10 lists or of best entry-level games or gateway games, and that led to me visiting some great channels. I never missed them, and I'm going to list them here, but I'll link them in the description so they're easy to find. The first one is Thinker Themer with Amy and Maggie. These ladies are great. They are the Wonders from Down Under. They're wonderful. Check them out if you can. Next up is All You Can Board with Dylan and Carlo, two good Canadian boys. Board Game Hangover with Giannis T and Giannis G. Great channel. Before You Play with Monique and Naveen. They give great playthroughs and reviews, so look them up as well. Actual All with John Perkis, very entertaining as well as informative. Watch It Played, which was started by Rodney Smith, another good Canadian boy. At the Board Game Garden with Jenna Rose, who's a good Canadian girl. I'm throwing out the Canadian content there, not that I was looking up Canadian content, it just happened to be. And also Foster the Meeple with Jamie and Jeff, another good Canadian couple. You can't go wrong with any of these channels. You can research games with them, but I hope you'll stay with me as well and we can discover this hobby together. So you've searched games, you've discovered some that you really like. Now what? Where do you buy your games? The best place to buy them is your friendly local game store, which in the community I've found out is FLGS, Friendly Local Game Store. But since I live, I do most of my shopping at those local game stores online. And I do want to say one thing before we go any further to where you buy your games. Beware of Amazon. I find that Amazon prices are usually higher than at my local game store. And some cases very high. I'll give an example. I picked up well, actually, I'm going to talk about where you get those games first, and then we'll go into my story of the overpriced Amazon. Don't forget used from places like Facebook game board groups. I belong to a couple of game board groups, and you can usually find a good deal on there. You can try eBay too. Be careful. Prices you got to be really careful. But one of the best places to get started in board games is at your local secondhand store. Now, I get it. Charity shops, it's all timing. But if your timing is right, you can get a fantastic deal. Now, one place that people forget about, I think, is dollar stores. I know that's crazy, but the reason I say dollar stores, it's not just about games, because you can get accessories for gaming. I picked up some little plastic containers for $1. I got 4 of them, and I use them with my games to store whatever pieces are available, either in the box or as you're out on the table and you need those. And instead of, splitting them up every time you play, you store them in these little containers. If they fit in the box, great. If not, label the container, put it near the box. You're ready to go every time. So when I was at my local dollar store, I picked up this, which is a roll and write called Greed, as you can see. Very simple game. I'll show a demonstration of it. It's simple. You roll your dice and you record your score. Trying to get the best score you can from the dice and hopefully spell greed. This game at the dollar store cost me $2. Part of the reason I bought it was because in the early to mid 80s, I knew the gentleman who created this game. I've since lost touch with him. I can't remember his name because I'm old. Oh, somebody wants out. But I was reminiscing and I thought, yeah, I'll get it. It's a great game. And it cost me $2. Here's the Amazon scare. On Amazon, somebody had this listed for $140. This, right here, the exact same thing I'm holding, for $140. Please don't fall for that stuff. Do your research. It's really important. And speaking of, expensive, the hobby can be very expensive. And I would suggest that you stay on a budget when you start. It's really easy to just buy game after game after game after game, and eventually you look at the bill and go, oh my God, what did I do? You just get carried away. Gaming can be so expensive, so please make a realistic budget and stick to it. That's my first piece of advice. So in my next episode, I'm going to get into the great starter games, or gateway games as they're called, especially ones that won't break the bank. I'm going to try and stay within a certain price range. For now, I'm going to suggest that you stay clear of I'm going to say the Board Game Geek Top 100. I would stay away from that list. If you're not familiar with it, BGG is, Board Game Geek is a very popular website that is all about board games. And it is a great research tool. I love it. You can research anything. You can get any information, I think, about any game. I found, anyway. So if you wanna research mechanics of board games, you can go to BGG and go up into the I think it's the the top left-hand corner, you'll see Browse. Click on that, drop-down menu, and then you click on Mechanics, or Publisher, or Category, Theme, whatever you want. You will get a huge list of mechanics. And there are a lot of them. But there's even more publishers than there are mechanics for games. So I would say that's going to keep you researching for a while. Look into that. Do you have any friends who board game? If they're into board gaming, pick their brains for what games to start with. Go back to those Facebook groups that I talked about and pick their brains. Just put a question. What game would you suggest? Even put a price point. What game would you suggest for someone just getting into gaming who likes dice games, who likes card management, hand management games? You're going to get a lot of people giving you suggestions. I think that's great. Check for game board meetups in your area. Try your local game store to see if they're having any game nights. A lot of them do. But if you're like me and you live, that means you're going to rely heavily on your computer. And in that case, I hope you're going to stay with me and you'll dive into the board game hobby with me. Because, as I said, I'm new to it as well. So that's it for now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd love if you would subscribe. I'd be greatly appreciate that. And until next time, remember, we're all in this together. Cheers.